My father never studied business, but he ran one. A tiny general store with flickering tube lights, dusty shelves, and an iron will to make things work. He didn't know about stakeholders, governance, or internal controls. He didn't use spreadsheets or systems. He just worked harder than anyone I knew. Yet, the store slowly collapsed. At the time, I thought maybe life was unfair. But years later, as I flipped through my ACCA BT book for the first time, I realized something heartbreaking. He didn't fail because he wasn't smart. He failed because no one ever taught him how a business should actually run. And that's why I'm here. Because if you're studying BT like it's just another subject, you're missing the bigger picture. This paper isn't just about passing an exam, it's about learning the very principles that decide whether businesses survive or break apart. So if you want to stop memorizing and start thinking like a future business leader, these next 10 study tips will change everything for you. But let's get real, most students approach BT like it's a history subject. They memorize corporate governance as if it's just a list of fancy titles. They treat ethics like it's a set of quotes they need to recite in the exam. They read about internal controls without ever asking, why do these even matter? And that's the first big mistake. Business and technology isn't about cramming definitions, it's about understanding how businesses breathe, how they grow, how they break down, and how systems keep them alive. If you don't grasp why internal controls exist, you'll never remember what they are. You'll keep rereading the same page, but the knowledge won't stick. And worse, it won't mean anything. Here's the truth, BT isn't a textbook. It's a story. Just like my father's business was a living story, starting with a dream, adding people, facing problems, and eventually collapsing from chaos. BT follows the same path. It begins by asking, what is a business? Then it moves into structure, how roles are divided, how decisions are made, and who holds the power. It introduces stakeholders, systems, controls, governance, and finally technology. Every chapter builds on the one before it. So instead of reading it like a disconnected subject, imagine you're the CEO building your own company from the ground up. Think of each chapter as an episode in your own business journey. Episode 1, the business is born. Episode 2, the shareholders want power. Episode 3, the risks that could ruin us. That's not just how you remember the material, that's how you live it. When I first started studying BT, I did what everyone else was doing, pages and pages of handwritten notes. 20 pages on governance alone, and yet when I sat for a mock test, I couldn't remember half of it. That's when I realized something crucial. BT isn't just about information, it's about structure. And structure is best learned visually. Instead of drowning in notes you'll never open again, build mind maps. One topic, one central circle, say, governance, and then branch it out. Roles, board responsibilities, committees, accountability. Use color. Use arrows. Use real-life examples. Suddenly, what looked like an overwhelming chapter becomes a simple, visual web that your brain loves to remember. It mirrors how businesses function in real life, everything connected, everything flowing. That's what BT is all about. And once you've built that visual connection, it's time to follow a system that actually works. I call it the 3-2-1 method, simple, powerful, and built for people who don't have endless hours to waste. First, do 3 full readings of the content, not skimming, but actual understanding. Then tackle 2 sets of past paper questions for each topic to build application power. Finally, finish with 1 visual revision, a mind map, a video summary, or even recording yourself explaining the concept aloud. That's all. You don't need 10-hour study marathons. You need clarity, repetition, and connection. That's the smart way to study BT. Because real success comes from rhythm, not pressure. One of the most game-changing shifts in my BT prep came when I stopped trying to just read and started watching. Top scorers will tell you, they didn't just bury their heads in the textbook. They watched explainers, animations, and storytelling-style breakdowns on YouTube. And it makes sense. Visual learners retain 60% more information when they see and hear something together. So while Kaplan or BPP might be your foundation, don't stop there. Mix it with real video content. Watch a visual breakdown of governance roles. Watch animated case studies on ethical failures or risk management. Suddenly, complex concepts don't just make sense, they stick. You start seeing BT everywhere, not just on paper. But what really makes the difference is when you stop thinking like a student and start thinking like a decision maker. When you solve past paper questions, don't just look for the right answer. Ask yourself, what would a real manager do in this situation? Or why would a shareholder care about this? The moment you step into the mindset of the business world, your answers become sharper, more intuitive. And that's exactly what ACCA wants. Not robotic definitions, but decisions rooted in business logic. Because BT isn't testing your memory, it's testing your thinking. Now, if you want a practical and fun way to keep that knowledge in front of your eyes, try this. Build your own BT wall. Yes, a physical wall. Use sticky notes or index cards. Every major topic gets its own card: ethics, risk, stakeholders, controls. Stick them up. Make them bold. Every day, pick 3 at random and challenge yourself. What's the core idea here? How can it show up in the exam? What example connects to this? By the time you reach exam week, that wall becomes your mind palace, familiar, accessible, and full of mental triggers. One of the smartest strategies I ever stumbled upon was something so simple, I almost laughed at it: the Pomodoro recall hack. You study for 25 focused minutes, no distractions, no checking your phone. But here's where the real magic happens. When the timer rings, you close your book and spend 60 seconds writing down everything you remember from that session. No notes, no peeking, just raw memory. You'll be surprised. What you forget in that 1 minute is exactly what you need to work on. It exposes weak spots, boosts active recall, and trains your brain to retrieve information like it would in a real exam. It's like giving yourself a tiny test every day, and those tiny tests build massive confidence. But if you really want to cement your understanding, do what I did when no one wanted to study with me: teach your cat. I'm serious. Teaching someone, or something, even just out loud, forces you to organize your thoughts. It's not about who's listening, it's about you explaining it clearly. When you can teach corporate governance in your own words without looking at notes, you've won. Record yourself explaining a topic and play it back while walking, cooking, or commuting. That's passive revision. Your future self will thank you. Now, all of this means nothing if you walk into the exam unprepared for the system itself. You can study 100 hours and still fail if you don't know how to think like the exam. That's why you need to master exam technique. Use the ACCA Practice Platform. Get used to the interface, the pressure, the pacing. Practice flagging tough questions, eliminating trick options, and managing your time per section. Know the 3 traps that BT loves to set: similar sounding terms, confusing keywords like most effective versus least expensive, and those emotionally tempting ethics questions designed to trick your gut. Don't fall for it. Always ask yourself, what is ACCA testing here? Because once you see the exam the way they do, you gain control. So, if you truly want to pass BT not just as a student, but as a future business leader, then apply these tips smartly, consistently, and creatively. Study like it matters, because it does. Not just for your grades, but for the businesses you'll work in, lead, or maybe one day build. Which tip hit you the hardest? Tell me in the comments. I read every one. And if this helped even a little, subscribe, hit the bell, and send this video to your study buddy or group. Trust me, someone you know needs to hear this. Because your BT exam isn't just another paper. It's your first business decision. Make it count. So if this video gave you clarity, confidence, or even just a new way to look at BT, take a moment to reflect on this. You're not just preparing for an exam. You're preparing for the decisions that shape real businesses, real lives, and possibly your own future company. Now it's your turn. Comment below and tell me which tip you're going to try first, or which one gave you that aha moment. If this helped you, chances are it'll help someone else too. So share it with your study group or a friend who needs it. And if you want more real, practical, and empowering content to help you master ACCA and beyond, hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell, and join this growing community of learners who study with strategy, not stress. Your BT paper is just the beginning. Start it like a leader.